So we've got the site completely cleared now, and we're ready to start doing the layout. And I've picked up some stakes, some wood to make some batter boards, so I'll run through that process about how I'm going to lay out the site and show where I need to put my piers and my footings, and we'll begin to get much more of a sense of what this is going to look like in the situ. So the next phase is to get the layout right. So we need to know where to put the foundation footings and the piers themselves that are going to support the garden office. So I've got my plans, got a couple of tapes, and we're going to set up some batter boards and start laying out some lines so we get an idea, and then begin to look at grade and what kind of drop we've got over the site. So we've got the highest point probably in that corner. Going to work from that point, and so do an initial rough layout, begin to get that square, and then begin to work from that point on. So I've laid out roughly, well, reasonably accurately actually, the edges of the building itself. So now I start trying to put in the holes. So I'm just going to do the first one. That'll give me a starting point for these piers, and I can use that as a reference point. So I've gone away, I've done the drawings, I've got a plan of where this hole needs to be. So it's actually about 16 mil outside of this string. So I'll measure that. So ensure I've got a 300 millimeter diameter hole within those, within that area. Maybe slightly bigger so I can shuffle things around, and then we can work from there. Today, going to get the laser out, make sure I can get a good depth on this hole, and that'll be the starting point for the rest of them. So in the last few weeks we've managed to dig the holes. So we've dug out 12 holes, spaced over the area. But during the couple of weeks that it's taken me to dig them, they've actually filled with water. So water hasn't really drained away because it's clay at the bottom of these holes. So now I'm having to drain them out. So I've got a sump bump on a rope that just lower that in and trigger that off, and then it expels the water down that tube out of the back of the garden there. So it's quite effective, takes me a couple of minutes per hole, and I'm hoping that the next few days we've got some dry weather that'll help to dry out the holes now that we've got the concrete tubes and we're ready to pour the concrete over the weekend. So yesterday we got delivery of the concrete, so I've decided to take the route of using pre-prepared ready mix bags. So I think it's probably maybe twice as expensive as getting kind of a concrete truck in, but this allows me to work at my own pace and to just do things the way I want. With a concrete truck you only get about half an hour to offload what you need to do. You need to have everything really set up. You probably need a couple of more people to help you, and that was going to be a bit tricky to organise. So we've got about 100 bags of this stuff. Good tip, ring up your builders merchants and get a quote. They'll often give you a good price, better than you'll get online. So today's job is going to be getting in the first of the concrete piers. So the holes are still fairly clear of water. There's a bit still a bit in the bottom. It's a bit muddy down there, but we'll just put some plastic sheeting over the tubes themselves. So these are the tubes we got. They are 30 centimeters in internal diameter with a 6mm wall, so 31.2 total diameter. 1.5 meter lengths. They'll need cutting down to size once we get them in the holes, but these should do the jobs. I'll put some plastic bags over the ends just to keep the bottoms dry and out the water, and then we'll put some reinforcing down the middle. So we've got the first pier poured this morning. A bit of an ordeal, getting kind of an idea of what I needed to do, the processes that I needed to go through, working out how to use the mixer, working out how not to spill it everywhere. So that was a bit of a fail. So this afternoon I have prepped. We've got 1, 2, 3 and 4 other tubes. So the process I'm going through is just checking the hole for size using a spare bit of cut off there. So dig out any interference with that to get the position correct. Then I will cover the kind of the bottom of the tube with a plastic bag. Let me find one that hasn't leaked. There we go. So you can see down there, hopefully, we've got a plastic lining at the bottom. You can see the rebar castle sat on top of that. So we put that there just because there's a lot of water in the bottom of the holes, so the concrete will displace that as it goes in. So then we get the height right, so we're using a laser reference point, reference plane, so then we can mark the tube. Then I measure that mark, create marks all around it, then use a chalk line to mark between the 2 points on the tube, cut the tube with a circular saw, then it's ready to be put in place. So I've got these bits of bracing here. They just help it kind of not to wobble around so much, so they're not actually fixed into the ground at all. I've not found that I've needed to do that. They just provide enough to kind of keep it up if I need to lift it a little bit and get the right height and position. I put this rebar structure in, so it's just three pieces of rebar. I say that it's actually 2 bits of rebar. One, so I cut about 1 meter off the end. I've bent 90 degree in there so I can attach it, and then I fit that on a, let's see if we can get that in there, fit that on a castle, a mesh castle, tie it all together, bring it up, tie it as a triangle in the top, so that other piece is just folded or bent in half, and then just wire it so it stays stable during the pour. So now I'm ready to put the concrete into these 4. So yesterday we managed to reach the point where we got 5 piers poured. So there we go. Got 3 on this row, and we've hit 2 on this row. And they've come out quite nicely, nice and level, good tops. So I'm quite pleased with that. The plan is to do a bit of prep this evening. So those were poured yesterday. Had a bit of rest today, prep this evening for tomorrow, and then tomorrow the plan is to get the rest of them poured. I've still actually got 1 hole to dig, which is the job for this evening. So as you can see, we've got in our 12 piers. They're all pretty level. Checked the level between them, and with the laser they're pretty close. Might need a little bit of adjustment, but fairly pleased with it. So that was all finished yesterday. So we've had it overnight to dry, obviously still strengthening up. Don't get maximum strength until 28 days, but plan is to probably drill them tomorrow and then do the fixing of the wood plates on top. That'll give us a place to fix the floor frame to. So the intention today is to backfill the holes where necessary. So things like this, and because it's going to be quite difficult to get this clay in, back in, my plan is to actually use some of the bags of leftover concrete and to make quite a wet sloppy mix, because we don't need any strength, to then pour that down the sides of the holes, just to backfill that. And then once we've got the backfill in, I'll flatten out these heaps of earth, level it, probably take out the grass around the piers here, and then once the earth is leveled, then we'll put in the weed membrane, and then we've got a load of gravel to put in. So that should keep me busy for most of the day. So we're on Wednesday of my week off my day job to progress with this, and with the help of Dave we managed to make a lot of progress today. So we've got this delivery of wood for framing the floor, then under here we've got plywood and the insulation boards as well, and as well as that we've managed to get the gravel moved. We've got the weed proof membrane down underneath it. We've raked out the gravel, so that we have a reasonable surface underneath, so it looks pretty tidy now. And then we've got the blocks on top of the piers here. So we've got the pier itself, and then we've got just a piece of damp-proof course just to stop any moisture coming up from underneath and getting into the wood, keep it dry. And then we've got the wood on top, and then we've got these recessed bolts. So this wood is 75mm thick, and that will give us a really good fixing point for the joists and the floor framing itself. So yeah, something of a tedious job going through and drilling all those, but Dave helped me out there, did a lot of work drilling those out, and I was prepping the holes on the wood, and we got that put in. So I've got a day off this tomorrow, and so we will resume work on Friday.